so many more people can join that never would have maybe traveled,
Me too. It's been tons of fun
And,
too.
it's got to be easier in a lot of ways,
In a lot of ways, yeah. And better in a lot of ways too.
Yeah,
So.
absolutely. All right, I'm just about ready now for the come on. Hey everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Today's guest shares my birthday, so I always remember her birthday every single year. And she is not only the CEO of the McDougall Program, but she is the daughter of John and Mary McDougall, Dr. McDougall. And I'm so excited to talk to her because we don't really know each other very well. We're like two ships that pass in the night. We've known each other for about 11 years, but until recently when I started presenting for the McDougall Program, I didn't know her very well. And I can't wait to get to know her a little bit more. So please welcome Heather McDougall. How you doing, Heather?
Great, AJ. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Me too, because, I'd love to know, the first question I've got to ask you is, and of course, we want to hear about what you do as the CEO of this wonderful program that is now available online. So people all over the world, not that people all over the world couldn't take it before, but they don't have to travel and you're getting as good, if not better results. But what's it like being the daughter of Dr. John McDougall? Because to me, I love your dad, but he terrifies me. I think of him as larger than life, like a big celebrity. And is he just dad?
He's just dad. And our relationship has really evolved over the years. When I was a teenager, I was actually the bad child. So I'm the one that snuck out and lied to my parents and went to parties when I wasn't supposed to. And so if you would have told me at 16 that I would be running the family business, I would have said, no way. And now, we work very closely together. And so our relationship has changed. And, back in the day, I didn't think he knew anything. And now I realize he knows close to everything.
Right. Was it fun growing up a McDougall?
No. I didn't appreciate it at the time. I was different. No one wanted to share lunches with me. Back then there weren't very many plant-based vegan families or children. So I was sort of odd. And, there was one health food store in town and we had to make our own non-dairy milk. So it was very different. And I didn't appreciate my mom or dad for what they were doing and what they were standing up against back then. I remember people calling my dad a quack and telling him he didn't know what he was talking about. And he didn't care. He was so strong and he just stood up for what he believed in and spoke his truth. And at the time, I didn't realize how much strength that took and how proud I should be of him. But now I am. And I let him know, probably not as often as I should, but I do let him know how proud I am.
That's one of the things I most admire about your dad is he is not afraid to tell the truth. And he's even gone outright and said, I'd rather be hated than ignored. Whereas me, I'd like, just ignore me. If you're he's just really, that's amazing the way he is like that. He's just a truth teller.
Well, he always says, Heather, I'd rather have people talking about me, than not. So that's the way he approaches things. And I'm different than he is. I'm a little bit of my mom and dad. So I have a bit more of the Doug Lyle approach. This seems to be working for me right now. Most of my acquaintances don't even know what I do, and my dad just shouts it from the rooftops. So we're very different that way. I just sort of teach by example. That's my motto.
Okay, so your mom, she appears to be a saint. Is she Saint Mary? She is like the sweetest, kindest, gentlest person.
And she really is. She's got to put up with my dad. So she's very patient. She's very kind. She really hardly ever gets angry. She's just very kind and sweet and loves to help people. And yeah, I love her.
She's amazing. And when we have her on, it's like the ratings just go up. They love when they see her. Wow. So your parents have told the story about when they transitioned to a plant-based diet and how it worked for them. You're the oldest of three kids. So when they made this switch, how old were you and what impact did it have on you?
So I remember when they took the dairy products out of the house. It was very traumatic for me, but I was still, 2-3 years old. So it wasn't a huge deal. This has been my life. This has been, what I've eaten, what I've been fed, what I've been taught. But I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had McDonald's. I've had to experiment. My dad always jokes that the way that I rebelled was to eat junk food, and eat those things that I wasn't supposed to have. So I've tried those things. I just, excuse me, I know that's not my food. It's not what makes me feel good. It's not what gives me energy or keeps me at my ideal weight. So
Yeah. Have any McDougals, and I'm sure you have other family members like cousins, have any of the McDougals ever struggled with weight?
no, I think, by and large, we tend to be a trim family. But, in high school, I was probably 20 pounds heavier than I am now because I ate dairy products because I didn't want to listen to my dad. And he kept telling me, give up the dairy, you'll lose the weight, your face will clear up. And I was like, oh, Dad, you don't know what you're talking about. And finally I did. I gave up the dairy. And what do you know? I lost 20 pounds. My face cleared up. So, I've gone back and forth, but I know, like I said, this is my food. This is what I love. And this way I know I can eat as much as I want of the right kind of foods and still maintain the weight that I want to maintain. So for me, it's so worth it.
Yeah, did your brothers rebel at all or just you?
For some reason, I was the one that had to test everything. I think because I was the oldest and I was a girl, and I do have a bit more of a personality like my dad, so I had to test the boundaries a little bit.
Well, I'm glad you came back to the light side.
Me too.
So did your kids rebel? Because you have 3 children. I'm not sure what their ages are right now, but you raised them on a completely plant exclusive diet.
So I have 3 boys. They're 16, 14, and 12. And I do what my parents did with me. And this is the food we eat at home. This is what I prepare for them. This is what I teach them about dairy products and animal products in general, and how starches are our food. I mean, these are the same messages I teach my children. And so this is the way we eat at home. But when they're out of the house and they want to make their own food choices, I don't judge them. I don't want to be a policewoman. I want them to make the right choices because of their knowledge, not because mom tells them to do so. Because my oldest is driving. He can go out and get whatever he wants. So for me, it's about education. It's about giving them the right kind of foods at home so they can see how good they taste, how filling they are, how great they feel on them, so that those are the foods that they choose when they are out. But they're not vegan. I know things jump in their mouths, but we're a plant-based, a starch-based family, and that's how I like to label us.
Nice. Yeah. Have they ever said, or would they be willing to admit that when they eat not as clean as you serve, that they don't feel their best?
Well, they'll be very mad if I tell you, but I'm going to tell you anyway. That's sometimes the best thing for me is they want to try things. And I'm just like, oh gosh, no. And I think, okay, you know what? Try it. And a lot of times they'll end up with a terribly upset stomach or on the toilet so for me, having those things happen to them is the best education I can give them. I could tell them over and over again that food's not good for you. It makes you feel bad. But until they experience it, I don't think they're really going to understand.
Yeah. And do you ever expose them to any of the documentaries like Game Changers or Forks Over Knives? Do they ever watch any of that type of?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, it's education. It's all about me informing them. And I don't want them thinking that, milk is important for strong bones or you need lots of protein to build big muscles, So again, it's about showing them, the movies, seeing Dr. McDougall's color picture book. That is, one of their favorite things that my dad always talks about. It's pictures. So they understand which foods fuel them, which foods make them feel good. But they're kids, so they're going to go out and experiment once in a while as well.
But I bet they must be incredibly healthy.
Oh yeah. Very trim, fastest kids, in their class, or they used to be when they would go to school. Now they're all online schooling, but yeah, no health issues, clear complexions. If they ever start, breaking out a little bit, they know exactly what they need to do. More fruits and vegetables.
Yeah.
So.
Did you mention that when you were growing up, you felt a little bit different? Of course, this was a long time ago, and there probably weren't as many plant eaters or as much education out there. Did they ever question it or feel like why do we have to eat this way, Mom? This is silly.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I still get a little pushback, but more of it was when they were like, I remember my oldest son, when he was about 9, he's like, Mom, why do you tell me about all the foods that I want to eat? Why do you tell me dairy products are bad or that meat isn't good for me? I'm like, because I don't want you eating these foods thinking they're healthy or they're important. If you want to eat them, I want you to eat them because you think they taste good, not because you think they're good for you. So, there's been a little back and forth, but they know this is their food. They know that they feel the best on this.
Nice. That's great. That's so cool that you raised them that way and you had, I imagine, 3 very healthy vegan pregnancies.
I did. Yeah,
Yeah.
they were almost effortless. I worked up until I had all 3 of them. So,
That's
and
cool.
I actually had 2 at home.
That's neat. Do they know who Grandpa is? I mean, I know they know who he is, but do they know he's a big deal?
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, they've sat through so many lectures and so many advanced study weekends, and they've gone on all the McDougall adventures, all the trips with everyone. So they've seen Grandpa lecture, they've seen all the people go up to him and thank them for saving their lives. So, and we watch YouTube videos once in a while. So I try to keep them in the loop and interested.
Right. Do they want to follow in the family footsteps at all?
There's been no mention yet.
Well, speaking of the family footsteps, we have some questions from some of the live viewers like Mandy. It's like, what does Heather do?
Hmm. I wear many hats. Um, Apart from being a mom, I also run the family business. And so, that up until the virus was in-person events all year long. We did 10-day programs and 3-day intensive weekends. And, now we've moved that to online, but I manage everything, the mailings. We now are on Instagram. We started that. We did our first post on Monday. So lots of ins and outs of running the business. And now that we've moved our course online, I'm the moderator for all 12 days. So that's been a lot of fun. Before the virus, I had never Zoomed, and now I spend most of my day on Zoom, and it's been so much fun.
Yeah. So there's a question. How has the business changed since you have taken the lead? How long have you been the CEO?
Well, for 5 years. And before that, I was director of the McDougall Program and wore a lot of the same hats that I do now. I've been really working for my dad since I was in high school. I worked in his medical office when he had a private practice, and so now I just stay very, very busy running the business.
What's your favorite part?
Oh goodness. Well, now I have to say it's being the moderator to all these online courses. I mean, I get to see all the lectures, I get to interact with all the people, I get to sit during all the Q&As, and I've been listening to this my whole life, but I'm always learning new things and hearing about new studies and getting tips and tricks from either the classmates that we're teaching or our team. So that's been a lot of fun.
Right. Are you as good of a cook as your mom?
My mom has thousands of recipes under her belt, and I don't have that many. But I think my boys say I'm the best cook, and they'd rather eat at home than eat out. So, but everything I've learned from my mom. I mean, I grew up being the recipe tester for all of her cookbooks and helping her, with everything. So I attribute, most of my knowledge and my background to my mom, and still I mean, before virus, we would still cook together, and it was so much fun. But now they're up in Portland, and I'm in Santa Rosa, so we haven't seen each other since March.
Oh, that must be rough.
Yeah, it's been weird.
Yeah. So here's a question. When Heather did experiment, how did you come back to eating whole food plant-based?
Well, I think it's just listening to my dad over and over again. And most of what I ate was starch-based plant food. So, I knew that food made me feel the best. I mean, when I would go and, binge on these terrible foods, it'd feel good going down, but afterwards it didn't, and it just wasn't worth it. So, eventually you realize that it's just not your food.
Yeah. Do you have friends that are plant-based, or like when you were in high school, were they plant-based, or were you able to influence any of your social circle to eat this way?
I had my roommate in college went totally plant-based with me for 2 years, and that was great. But again, I'm a lot like the Doug Lyle mental, and that a lot of people don't even know what I do. I just do my thing. I eat my food when I go out to eat. I order my food and I don't make a big deal out about it. And I think it's because I've been doing it for so long that it just seems normal and natural to me.
Yeah.
So,
Well, Ginny says, what a blessing to have the people you had as parents. She looks smart and kind too, and looks
oh,
so
thank
young.
you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'm not
Yeah,
that young, but thank you.
um, so I know you didn't really struggle with weight. You said you were heavier when you ate dairy, but did you have a lot of friends that did growing up?
Well, I think being overweight wasn't as common as it is today. I grew up in Hawaii, and so there weren't as many overweight kids. Most of my friends were trim, but I see it more and more in children today. More and more kids have problems with their weight or even obese. So, it's hard to see when I know what the solution is. Even my boys, we see kids that have eczema or are constipated, and we know, gosh, just give up the dairy, or it's sometimes so simple.
Yeah. Would you say that the majority of the people that come to the McDougall program, that is a part of their issue is excess weight?
Uh, you know, Not the majority, no. I mean, people have arthritis, they have autoimmune diseases, they have heart disease, they have diabetes, and you're not always overweight when you have diabetes. So, I really think it's a mix. Maybe half and half.
Yeah.
Arthritis is a big one, Crohn's disease, cancer. So, again, we have a very demographic, and I would say average age is, 40 to, gosh, well, we've had our last program, we had a couple that was in their 80s. So it's never too late to change your diet and make a difference.
That's
Like
true.
Dr. McDougall, my dad always says, is the body never stops healing. And once you stop attacking it with the wrong foods, it's amazing how quickly the body will begin to heal.
Yeah. So your dad has written a bunch of books, bestsellers, and your mom
Yes.
has like 4,000 recipes. Do you have a favorite Dr. McDougall book and a favorite Mary McDougall recipe?
So my favorite book is The Starch Solution, just because it's such an easy read. It really gets to the point on all the major topics. Where do you get your calcium? Where do you get your protein? Um, and then again, in that, um, a lot of my favorite recipes are also in that book. I think one of my mom's favorite recipes is her lasagna. I make that a lot. My boys' favorite recipe of my mom's is her split pea soup. That whenever they go visit her, she'd always have that in her crock pot on the counter. Um, but really, I love my mom's recipes. She does such a great job, and there's such a big variety. And um, yeah, now we're doing a lot of bowls. That's been our thing. It's just because it's so easy. Two of my boys are a little bit pickier, and for some reason, we all end up liking different things. And so bowls are so easy because you have a starch, sometimes a little bit of tofu, saute veggies in a sauce, and everyone can sort of make their bowl however they want, and then everybody's happy.
Yeah. And I think about one of the things I miss is that I love the advanced study weekends that you had, and you had so many wonderful people, like superstars actually come. Is there somebody you remember like that just was like you were really excited to meet them, or do you have any memories of those weekends?
Oh gosh, you name it, we've had them on the stage. Dan Buettner, Dean Ornish. Meeting Colin Campbell and Esselstyn. Those are the kings. So hearing my dad talk about these people for so many years, and then getting to meet them and see them on stage was a real treat. Yeah,
All the
wonderful.
kids of the plant-based doctors, are you guys like friends? Like, do the McDougalls hang out with the Campbells or the Esselstyns? Are you guys all like pals?
No, we see each other at events. We used to whenever we'd be at events, but Now we're all in different parts of the country. So no, I haven't been socializing with anybody but my family.
Yeah, thank goodness for that, right? So here's a question from JL. Question for Heather. How can you convince someone that plant-based is better when they have lost weight on a low-carb and meat diet and claims it works for them? They're like doing the Dr. Lyle on us. Well, it seems to be working for me.
It's a tough one because they're getting the results that they're seeking, but those diets just aren't sustainable. And a lot of times, they'll do their blood work, which many people probably don't do, and you'll see that your cholesterol is through the roof. So, while in the beginning you may be getting the results that you're looking for, I think in the long run. And then you can also look at the impact that it's having on the environment and animals, and a compassion standpoint. When you're eating a plant-based diet, I mean, everything just seems to be right. You feel good, your health is great, you're doing good for the environment, you're doing good for animals. So I think maybe appeal to their compassionate side and just say, this just makes so much more sense than eating so many animals. I mean, that's just not sustainable for our health or our planet.
I agree. Kathy says, did your kids eat the school lunches in grade school, junior high, or high school, or did you send lunch with them?
I packed a lunch. I had to. It was just so difficult. If there were plant-based options, they were usually swimming in oil, or just not what my kids wanted. So I packed lunches every day for all three of them, which is one of the things that I've liked about them online schooling is I don't have to pack lunches. But yeah, it was an extra step that I had to take, but I thought it was worth it.
That's neat. Yeah, I mean, how much detail do you go in with the kids about that? Because they understand it's not animal products, but do they understand like why you guys don't eat oil?
Well, yeah, I mean, we talk about inflammation, we talk about excess weight. I mean, we talk about the effects that fat and cholesterol have on the arteries. And, absolutely, I think it's important. Like I said, you got to educate them. You can't just tell them to not eat meat or not eat cheese. You have to tell them why. What it does to your body, what it's doing to the environment, what it's doing to animals. So I think education and information is so important.
And I imagine your husband is probably on board with this way of eating.
Oh yeah, he wasn't when I met him though. He was meat and potatoes, but I just started cooking for him and brought him to a few weekends. And again, I think my approach is to not put too much pressure on people. Just give them some information, start making some great food for them, and usually it works in my favor.
Nice. Oh, you don't have to answer this one from Kathy that says, you look so young. May we know your age or age range if you don't want to say exactly?
I'm 46 and I'll be
Wow.
47 in
Oh,
March.
wow. You look on March 22nd.
March 22nd, yeah.
Which is funny because your brother Craig has the same birthday as my husband Charles. It's like, how did your parents have two kids with the exact birthdays? I thought that was,
So wild.
I don't know how they did that. So let's see. Here's a question from Cindy. What has Heather seen change in recent years in people's food know-how and in the problems they present?
Hmm. Well, I think people are very much more aware of what they eat and the impact that food has on their health and their bodies and the environment. Um, but with that being said, I think there's also a whole lot of noise about what's healthy and good, and that can get really complicated. What about this? What about this? And before long, there's like 20 things that you're worried about when really what you need to focus on is eating more starch, not eating animal products, and not having any added oils. And there's so many other things that can confuse you or get you distracted. um, that's been a bit of a negative. But as far as the amount of vegan food that's available, the documentaries, the when you go out to a restaurant, I have an easier time ordering what I want. And the conversation about plant-based living is huge. When I was a kid, nobody talked about it. So, again, knowledge is so important, and having people talk about this and be aware of the impact that food has on their body it's been
It's
amazing to
just
watch.
amazing. I always say to your dad, don't you ever get tired of saying the same thing over and over and people not listening? I remember the first time I heard Dr. Esselstyn speak at a hospital, it was probably about 10 years ago. And, his talk is pretty much the same about not eating oil and endothelial and all that stuff. And he gave this wonderful 1 hour PowerPoint presentation. And I kid you not, the first question from the audience is, what's the best kind of oil to eat? And I feel like your dad came on the show Saturday and gave a lecture on the potato and talked all about starch and why it's human fuel. And then people on the chat's like, well, can't eat potatoes, they make you fat. Insulin, it's like, I go crazy for him that it just doesn't sink in.
Well, you say nobody's listening, but I don't believe that. There are so many people listening. My dad always says, I want to change the world. And, it's not happening fast enough. But I'm like, Dad, you are reaching thousands of people, the people that come through our courses, the people that just see us online and start following us. I mean, people are listening. I know it's not happening as fast as he'd like it to, but, I feel like they are getting it. But there's a lot of misinformation that we have to get through about calcium and protein and yeah, potatoes and rice being bad for diabetics. It's just there's a lot of re-educating that we have to do. But like my dad and all of the other people in this field, they don't get tired of spreading the word and stating what they believe. I mean, everyone on my team gives their lecture like it was the first time. And, over the last, 4 months, we've given 5 courses. And so that's, 5 different lectures that you're giving back to back to back. And it's fresh every time. And that's because the audience is new and the questions are different. And it's exciting, giving people this knowledge. So I'm hopeful. I'm optimistic. I know we're making a difference, and that's what matters to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Vicki says, does Heather have brothers and sisters, and do they follow whole food plant-based? We were actually talking about that right before we logged on.
So I have 2 younger brothers, Patrick and Craig. And Patrick is a chemist, and he lives in the East Bay here in California. And Craig is a board-certified MD that works up at OHSU. So, very close to me, and both follow this lifestyle and teach it to their kids. Craig is much more talked about than Patrick just because he's in the industry. He's a plant-based doctor and, has given lectures on this topic. And so he's much more known in this field. But yeah, Patrick is equally as an important member of the family, just not talked about as much.
Yeah, I'd love to see him sometime. So tell us about the online McDougall program. How did that start? How is that working? And why is it working so well, you think?
Well, it started because of the virus. Back in March, everything was closed down. And so it inspired us to do what we've been talking about doing for years and bring our program online so that people from all over the world could get our information and benefit from our medical care. It was expensive to come out here and it took a long time. And, you have to leave your family and friends for that amount of time. So we'd always talked about doing it, but we were so busy with our in-person events that we just never got around to it. And then the virus hit and we were forced to, either bring our business online or close down. And that wasn't an option. So it's been a huge learning curve and lots and lots of fun and has exceeded our expectations. I got a little bit of doubt from a couple of our team members, like, are they going to do as well? Because they're not, we're not locking them up. We're not cooking for them. They're not right here. And, the answer is they're actually doing better because they're doing it in their own homes, in their own kitchens. And so they can ask questions and mess up. And we're there the whole time to give them support. So, weight loss has been better. Adherence has been great. We also now offer a year of support with our support specialists. So they're checking in every week for the first 3 months. And that has been huge to keep people on track. Just because they know somebody's going to be calling them and doing a video chat with them every week to give them inspiration, to get them back on track, to let them know what they may need to change up if they've hit a plateau. We know this is difficult. I mean, what you need to do is easy, but actually doing it is the hard part. We don't live in a society that supports plant-based living as well as it should. And so, we're there to help. So the support's been great. And just being online has just been so much fun. I get to be there every step of the way. Every morning we do chats with my mom and dad. So that's been really great. In the past, it would be whoever got to sit at the table with Dr. McDougall got his ear, and now online, it's like the whole class gets his ear and everyone gets to ask questions and everyone gets to hear his answers. So I get a lot of comments from people, I'm really shy, I don't speak up, but hearing my other classmates, hearing their questions, hearing their experiences, hearing what they're going to cook for dinner has been so great for me. So it's been a lot of fun. I mean, I never in a million years thought we'd be doing this. I mean, I never thought we'd all be walking around with masks on either. So, it's been lots of fun, and the results have been amazing. And we're going to keep this going no matter what happens with the virus, because, lots of people are able to come see us that wouldn't have been able to had they had to get on an airplane, either because they couldn't leave their family, they didn't have the money, they couldn't get away from their job, or they were just too shy. They didn't want to interact in a big group of people. So this way, they're incognito. They don't even turn on their video. So it's been fun.
Yeah, that's great. Shar says, my doctors almost killed me, yet her dad, who I've never even met, saved my life.
I love it. Thank you.
And Diane, who's watching live, has been through the online program and says it's fantastic. And, the concern about, well, we're not going to lock them up. People have to realize that even if you could lock them up for 10 days, they still have to go home eventually.
Exactly. And there was always that fear, on, day 9, like, oh gosh, now I have to go home. Now I have to clean out my pantry. Now I have to plan my meals. Now I have to go shopping, and with the online course, they've been doing it from day 1, and we've been helping them every step of the way. So, that's been great. I mean, because you're right, we can lock you up, but after that 10 days, you've got to go out in the real world and be prepared. So this way, they're in their world, they're in their environment, and they make it work for them while we're there to guide them along.
Great. Well, Robin says, what courses do you offer? Right now, it's a 12-day program, I believe.
It's a 12-day program. Yep, that's the only one we're offering, but we're working on bringing back the advanced study weekends, and that's when we bring in speakers from all over the world that have our same mindset or philosophy, and those are lots of fun. And other little mini courses that will be, more accessible for people that maybe don't need the intensive medical care, maybe don't have the time or money. So we're working on those.
Well, that sounds fantastic. My favorite, well, it's not my favorite, it's just it was my favorite because it was the first time I actually got to do something for the McDougals was in June 2009, and it was the last time. It was called the Celebrity Chef Weekend.
That was fun. We did that once, I think, which was an amazing weekend, but so much work. But, we've actually talked about bringing that back online because that would be so great.
Because you don't have to make samples for 300, 400 people when you do it online.
Exactly. And do all the changing, the cleanup and the new ingredients. And this, every chef could be in their own kitchen cooking. So that might be something that we do.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Oh, that'd be amazing. And I know a great chef.
No, you too.
Just a little plug for myself there. Oh, so Kathy says, has Dr. McDougall ever considered getting the Start Solution program approved for health insurance by health insurance like Dr. Ornish has done?
We've talked about it, and he actually back in the day worked with Blue Cross Blue Shield and had great success there. That just has not been on our plate for one reason or another. At the moment, we don't take any insurance. So, it's all out of pocket. But we are finding that insurance companies will reimburse people after the fact. But, we're always open to adding or changing or adapting. So any, comments, suggestions you have, let AJ know and she'll get them to me.
Absolutely. Yeah. So there's a question on the bowls you make from Cindy. What types of sauces do you put on them?
Oh man. Well, I will do like a simple vinaigrette with just balsamic vinegar, maybe lemon juice, a little mustard, garlic. Otherwise, I'll do like a pesto, a real thin pesto, peanut sauce, which I make very thin, and I use PB2, so that's got some of the fat removed. Tahini sauce, and again, I'll make it with more lemon and water than tahini. Different tomato sauces, roasted vegetable sauces. I love roasting vegetables. I put them on a piece of parchment paper, put them in the oven, and a lot of times, after I've got my roasted vegetables, I'll just put them in a blender, a little salt and pepper, vegetable stock, and you've got a great sauce to put over potatoes or pasta.
Nice.
I'm all about simple.
Yeah. So do you know what you're making yet for Christmas dinner?
I think actually a Mexican meal, whole Mexican spread, just tacos. And my favorite food is Mexican food. I mean, all different types. And my boys give me a hard time because we eat a lot of beans and rice in the McDougall house. But I'll probably just do a big spread with different types of beans, maybe the tofu taco recipe. And so then you have a little tofu, garlic, cilantro, aioli, cabbage, and then roasted vegetables and different salsas. And yeah, that's probably what I'll do.
Yeah. Well, you're not the first person that I've talked to this week that is doing Mexican for Christmas. There's nothing wrong with that.
Okay,
absolutely.
Good.
A lot of times I do Chinese. I mean, who says it has to be,
right?
Exactly. So speaking of beans, Linnell says, I'm still getting painful gas from beans. What can I do to get good burps for relief without taking salt-loaded baking soda? I'm 79 years old. Do you have any tips or tricks on getting that bean to not give you so much gas?
So there's an enzyme that Beano is not the right brand because Beano has animal products in it, but I'm drawing a blank at the name, but it's an enzyme that you can take before you eat the beans, and that will calm your stomach. And some people really have a lot of relief from that, but know that, in 2 to 4 weeks, they shouldn't be bothering you anymore. And sometimes some of the issue might be not cooking them properly or cooking them enough. But it shouldn't be ongoing. But I would recommend a bean enzyme that you can get very inexpensively. I can find the name for you and send it to AJ.
I could post it in the chat.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that would be my suggestion.
Did you guys eat a lot of desserts growing up? Because it doesn't seem like any of the McDougalls I've met are obsessed with like sugar or desserts.
No, lots of fruit. We're big fruit eaters. Like right now, we have a neighbor that has a satsuma tree. So we have a giant bag of satsumas that we're going to try to get through. But big fruits. My vice is dark chocolate. I love chocolate. But as with all things that aren't very good for me that I like to eat, I don't have them in the house because then it's much more difficult to eat them. So I keep that stuff out of the house. So we're mostly fruit. But on, Thanksgiving or Christmas, my mom would always make pumpkin pie or the wicked chocolate pie that's on our website. So we do dessert. It's just special occasions.
Right. What about birthdays growing up? Did your mom bake a birthday cake for you guys?
Oh yeah. And that was our big treat, and just like my dad has always said, the problem is not the occasional feasting, it's the feasting every day, 3 times a day, that's getting people. So, birthday cake, that would be what we look forward to.
Yeah, that's the problem is that some people, like you say, they're having birthday cake for breakfast, basically. It's called a Cinnabon, but it's basically birthday cake. Yeah. So look who's watching live, Heather, Dr. John Westerdahl. And he says, hi, Heather. I think I gave you your first job in the vegetarian field as an editor for Veggie Life magazine when I was a nutrition editor for the magazine. Good to see you again.
Oh my gosh. Yay. Hi, John. Good to see you. I love it. That's a name from the past.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. We'll have to have, that's so cool. I love it. I love it. So you got any, I don't know, are there any fun stories? Without telling tall tales out of school, any fun, either Dr. John McDougall or Mary McDougall stories you can tell us? You know what I love about your parents? It's so obvious. They've been married like 50 years, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, long time.
and they still love each other. It's like, I mean, like I'm so honored that I get to speak at events with your dad now. And like the last time that I actually went anywhere or spoke was the job up in somewhere up in Oregon, a beautiful Skamania Lodge.
Skamania, yeah.
And it's like, like before he goes on, like she'll fix his hair, and it's just like it's just like you could see how much they love each other. You don't see that very often,
I know, and it's real and it's not fake either. And sometimes, we've been sharing a lot in these morning chats during the courses, and sometimes he gives way too much information about their relationship that their daughter should not be hearing. So, I don't really have any great stories about my parents. And, I mean, what you see is what you get, really. We're not that exciting, and we love to travel, and we love to be with one another, and we love to eat the right kind of food. And, yeah, gosh, I don't know, other than people not wanting to trade lunches with me and me sneaking McDonald's cheeseburgers at the bus stop before I went home from school, those are mine.
That's funny. Yeah, that's funny. Well, I guess it's better than smoking, but not too much. Jesse says, Beanzyme and Veg Life Peaceful Digestion are vegan Beano options.
Good. Yeah, that's right. The Beanzyme is the one I was talking about. Thank you.
Nice. Let's see. And Shar says alpha galactosidase for beans. So.
Oh, I don't know. That's a big word.
And Claudia's making healthy tamales for Christmas. That sounds good. I've made tamales, and they're kind of labor intensive.
Exactly, which is why I don't make them. I'm a simple cook. I've got 3 boys and I run a business, so I don't have a lot of time in the kitchen. So, simple one pot meals, the Instant Pot, I use a lot.
Yeah, Instant Pot's great. Is that your favorite appliance?
Oh yeah, hands down. I use it every day. I love it.
Do you also have an air fryer?
I do. Yeah. And I just got that. So I've actually been I've been getting into that. I just did potatoes in it the other day. I think partly because I hear you talk about it so much and other plant-based chefs. I'm like, I've got to get one of those things. So I know what, you're talking about. So I need to get some tips from you, AJ.
I'll tell you the biggest tip I have, because I think the best thing about the air fryer is the way it makes French fries. And the biggest tip I can give you is cook the potatoes in advance, chill them, does something with I don't know what's called resistant starch, so that when you bake them the second time, they're just crunchier. And so that's my biggest tip for the air fryer.
Okay, I got to do that because I just sliced them and put them in the air fryer. So I'll chill them next.
Yeah. Laura says that would be awesome to get the starch solution to go through Blue Cross Blue Shield, maybe one day. And, the other thing about your parents is that, obviously you have to pay to go to the McDougall program, but they give so much away for free on their website. And when the pandemic hit, your dad gave all his courses away for free.
Yep. Yeah, it's all free on the website. I mean, we have, thousands of people just go to the website, read the information, print out a bunch of recipes and follow it. I mean, you absolutely can do it completely free from our website. But we find that a lot of people need that extra support, that one-on-one care, that intensive medical care that you just can't get, on your own. So that's why we do the courses. But yeah, anybody can do it. And we get emails every day from people that, I just happened upon your site. I started reading, I've been following this for 6 months. I'm, down this many pounds. I feel great. So we never get tired of hearing that.
Yeah. Well, it really is a family business. Isn't your aunt involved as well? Isn't that who Carol is? I've never met her, but I've communicated with her on email.
Yeah. Carol takes all the calls and all the signups for the course. And if anybody calls the 800 number, that's who they'll get. So yeah, it's a family business. And, the rest of the team that's been working with us has been working with us for, some of them over 10 years. So we have a great team, and it's a great place to work. We all love what we do.
Yeah, nice. Well, Carol says, I did the October program and it was life-changing. I can't recommend it highly enough. Then why don't you come on live with me Saturday, Carol, when Dr. McDougall's coming on, you can give a testimonial how great it is. I can't bring you on right now, but if you get in touch with me through my website, I can bring you on Saturday, because we love those live, unrehearsed testimonies. Those are fantastic. Yeah. So the thing that's neat, I think, about the online program is, of course, yes, they can't taste the food, but they get to actually make it, which I think is actually even more useful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because they get to do it. They get to practice. They get to use their own spices, their own flavors, and really tweak it how they want, which, everybody likes their own cooking, or I like my own cooking better. Most people, they have their own spices. They're the things that they like that they may not get when someone else is cooking for them. So that is a real benefit. And we do focus a lot on simplicity. We tell people they can follow Mary's Mini, or Jeff Novick does a cooking demo that's just his simple one pot meals. I mean, he makes a week of food in like 20 minutes, so we're not about spending a lot of time in the kitchen. And we're really, throughout the course and throughout the website, we really try to teach people how to keep it simple, because that's how they're going to succeed. Nobody wants to adopt a new lifestyle and spend hours more in the kitchen, or most people don't. So we try to focus on, how to make it quick and simple and easy to stick with.
Nice. When is the next course, may I ask?
January 15th.
That's good, because then people make their New Year's resolution, and then by then they've already fallen off the wagon. So, or some people have. I saw a really fun question for you from JL. It was about your dad has so many sayings. Do you find yourself quoting him often?
Oh, totally. Yeah. I mean, I find myself just saying things that he would say. The fat you eat is the fat you wear. He has so many, and I'll find myself saying them to my children as well. And oh my gosh, when you hear yourself talking like your parents, it really makes you feel old.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Alice says, wow, she looks just like her dad.
That's what people say.
That's neat. Well, your dad's handsome. I mean, God, the younger pictures of your dad, like, wow, like the
my
one
mom
he shows
too.
Yeah, beautiful. And there's a picture that he shows where I think they're like petting a cat. Like he uses it a lot, and like, whoa, good looking people, right? Yeah, absolutely. That's neat. You guys have any more questions for Heather or about the program? I wish I could bring Carol on right now, and then she could talk about how great it is. I mean, I can tell you it's great. I wasn't in the program. I was doing a cooking demo, but Heather allowed me to observe, and it was like, it's like, I want to take it, even though I'm healthy right now. The best part, though, in my opinion, I'm going to say, is the morning chat with your parents. I mean, to me, that's like worth the whole thing. Like, can you imagine waking up every morning, whether you're motivated or not, and the first thing you do is have like an hour with Dr. McDougall and Mary McDougall where you can ask them anything? That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. Any medical questions, any concerns, anything. And you just have his mind for a whole hour. And that's, in a 12-day course, we'll do it for 11 of the days, and it's 11 hours. And then he also lectures during the course as well. So you get a lot of him.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. That's amazing. Yeah, Claudia says, I can see both of her parents in her. Thank God you got some of your mom's sweetness, huh?
Right. Yes.
Oh, that's what allows you to be a little bit more like the
handle another.
Yeah, I think the reason your dad likes me is because I'm like him. I mean, I try to like, but really at the end of the day, I'm not as brave as him, but I feel like he must feel, especially. Oh, here. So Tina says, because you've done this 3 times, do you have any information on pregnancy and plant-based eating?
Well, what my dad told me to do is just eat the food, eat as much as you want until you're comfortably full. I didn't take any prenatal vitamins because he said that would just be overkill. You would get more than the necessary nutrients that you needed. And so, I just ate this food. I didn't do anything special. I did yoga, 3 times a week. My first pregnancy, I got all the tests I was supposed to get, and they were worried about my iron because I didn't eat meat. And I got my iron tested at like month 7 of my pregnancy, and it was over 12, which is high, and that's just from eating plants. But yeah, I didn't do anything special. I had very easy pregnancies. But again, it was the food and just staying active. And my births were not easy by any means. So that, I think the way you eat doesn't have anything to do with that. But as far as recovery and nursing and all of that it just felt how it was supposed to be. It just felt easy and natural, and I bounced back very, very quickly.
That's great. Sorry, I was typing in an answer to somebody. P. Holton says that the September program was awesome and life-changing. So get in touch with me if you want to give a testimonial next week. And do you still do yoga?
Not as much as I should, but yes, I do. With COVID, I haven't been going anywhere, and I'm one of those people that unless I put it in my calendar, it's one of the first things to get pushed to the back. You just get so busy. But I hike with my dog, I hike with my girlfriends. I do that a few times a week, always. But I find that yoga, just the stretching and the movement, is so important for my balance and strength, and just staying centered.
You said you grew up in Hawaii. What age did you move back to the United States, the mainland?
When I was 14.
Right. Did you like it, or do you like Santa Rosa better?
Well, when I was 14, I couldn't wait to get off that island. You're a teenage girl and all you can do is drive around in a circle. And, I just wanted the mainland, and I wanted shopping, and I just wanted more. So I was, very excited, and I think about moving back sometimes, but I love it here. We visit Hawaii. We used to often, but I love being in Santa Rosa.
Nice.
So there's positives to both. It was a great place to grow up. We spent, our vacation sailing with my parents on their boat, but being here is amazing too, because there's so many more opportunities.
Yeah, but you don't have your parents anymore.
I know. Soon. I'm optimistic.
Yeah. Right. Well, will you move there? Will they move back?
Well, no, neither. We'll just visit a lot. I mean, they're up in Portland, so it's, an hour and 15 minutes by plane. It's so easy to get up there. Before the virus, we would do it pretty often, but, the virus has just put a little wrinkle in things for the time being. We just Zoom a lot.
Yeah. The question is, did you have home births?
My last two, I did. I had them at home. My first, I just felt like I should be in the hospital just because, and it went so well, and I didn't really want any of the things that they were offering. And so I thought maybe I should have my last two at home. And I'm so glad I did. Oh my gosh. Just being in my own bed and having my kids wake up the next morning and their little brother was there. It was very special.
It's sort of like now you have the McDougall program at home. And I imagine there's probably either has been or will be people that have done both in person and online. And they could probably really comment about the efficacy of how wonderful it is doing it online.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've already had a couple, at least one that I can think of that's been to both. And positives and about both, of course. But she's doing very well and has great things to say about the course.
Nice. Patricia asks, do you eat nuts and seeds? Meaning, I think you, because I don't. So.
I really don't very much. I found that I was probably 10 pounds heavier than I am now because I would eat nuts, just a handful every day. And it just, I had a muffin top. I just wasn't feeling, like I wanted to. And so I gave up the nuts and I lost the weight. So now I don't, I just find that even that handful of nuts, it makes a huge difference in your weight. And, people eat them because they think that they're a health food, which oftentimes makes them eat more than they should. So those are one of those treats that I keep out of the house, like nuts and dark chocolate. Oh my gosh, my favorite, but I just don't have it here so that I can't eat it.
It's even better than nuts and dark chocolate when they're together.
Well, yeah, I know. Exactly.
Like chocolate, dark chocolate covered almonds. Oh my God. That's nice that you know the importance of having a clean environment. So that's so, you know this stuff. I mean, you could just teach the whole course, Well,
I've been in it my whole life, 46 years. So you're bound to learn something, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's so cool. Well, this has been so much fun. I feel like I've gotten to know you. So, here Gina says Tom Kramer lost 10 pounds giving up nuts. That's how I lost all my weight, by substituting potatoes, which have been vilified forever, for nuts. And that does drive me crazy, though, that when the doctors or the dietitians say you have to have them, you must have them. How could it be a food that so many people are allergic to be the holy grail of the food that we must eat,
Mm-hmm. And it's just so sad because people are being told to eat this. And so they're eating them and they're not losing weight. And they're like, why am I not losing weight? Well, because you're eating so many nuts, but it's a health food. It's tough.
Well, Shar says, your dad says nuts have hard shells for a reason.
Yeah. But unfortunately nowadays they're all in, jars, and they've all been shelled and they're salted and roasted, and you can eat a whole jar in no time. So
Absolutely.
dangerous.
Well, if we're asking if we're eating nuts and seeds, the next question from Dina is, does she eat avocado and tofu? And they are of a much, much lower caloric density than nuts, because nuts are 3,000 calories a pound. Avocado is about 750. Tofu is about 600. So they're really much lower in caloric density.
Yeah, so avocado and tofu are in our home, and we probably, I'll do like a tofu stir fry probably a couple times a week, and avocado slices. My youngest son loves guacamole. So, it is a high fat food though, so you want to be careful. I think they can definitely be eaten in moderate amounts, but if weight loss is your goal, I wouldn't eat them, until you get to your desired weight, and then you can add them into your diet as you see fit.
Yeah, absolutely. Just sorry, I'm going to do that. I wish your mom would do more stuff. I know she's probably doesn't want to, but people do love to see her cook and everything.
Oh, you're doing cooking demos. Well,
yeah.
Maybe you could get the two of us on and we could do a little interview.
I think it'd be so great, because she's, it's like your dad always says that really, she kind of is the inventor of low fat cooking, and she has probably more recipes in that realm than anybody else. And her recipes are amazing. I love her. You know what I love? I love her pizza potatoes, her crock pot potato pizza, that one.
Little son, because I thought he was crabby because of the food I was eating. So I ate potatoes and brown rice for 6 months, and the pizza potatoes was one of my favorites.
And it's so easy. And I'm gonna figure out a way to modify it to the pressure cooker instead of having to do it. And I'm sure it's pretty easy. I just have to play with the time. But that is and it's such an easy recipe, and it's so yummy because it tastes like pizza, but it's potatoes.
I know.
I know. Well, it's so fun talking to you guys. So
yeah, you too.
Guys. Yeah. So guys, consider, I'll put some links in the chat on how you sign up for the McDougall program, because there is, even though it's online there, they do limit enrollment. So, want to make sure you get enrolled before it sells out, because all the programs have, and they're really fun. And don't forget to come back on Saturday at 9 when Dr. McDougall is giving the part 2 of his potato lecture. That was just a real thrill, I'll tell you.
Awesome. He said he had fun doing that with you.
Yeah, no, I love your parents. They're just like the best. And I still am scared of your dad. It's like, because I always, well, you know what it is? Because if I just, every now and then Zoom doesn't work. For the most part, it's reliable. There's every now and then it doesn't. And it's like, I pray, please let not today be the day,
He's really he seems a lot scarier than he is. I promise.
No, I know. But to me, he's like, I didn't grow up with him as dad. To me, he's larger than life and everything. But then again, you got your mom. Thank God for your mom. She's so sweet. Oh,
she balances him out. I mean, they're just such a great team.
Yeah. And Kathy says, where can you find the potato pizza recipe? So most of the recipes are at drmcdougal.com. They're all in the books, but so many of them are for free anyway at Dr. McDougall. I'm sure if you Googled it, because the newsletter itself has so many recipes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can just go into our recipe index and type in pizza potatoes and it'll come up.
It's really easy. You can even use jarred sauce, and Dylan Holmes now has one that's delicious without any of the bad stuff in it. Have you ever noticed how your dad can remember, like if you ask him, well, what about kidney disease? And he goes, oh, the May 2007 newsletter.
I don't know how he does it. I don't have that skill.
Yeah, that's incredible. He could just remember stuff like, wow,
Yeah,
he's amazing.
Yeah. But you know what? He needs to be able to do that, to be able to argue the topics that, people put in front of him. I mean, if it's impossible to debate him because he's got every study, it's just amazing.
And even some of the plant-based doctors he's offered to debate, and they never take him up on it.
Yeah.
That tells you a lot. That tells you a lot. Well, we look forward to a lot more great things from you, Heather, and the McDougall program. So happy that you're so involved in doing it online. So now, no matter where you live, I know the time could be a thing for certain countries, but it starts about 8 o'clock in the morning, right? Every day?
Yep. And everything we record and put into our course platform. So if you can't be there at a certain time, you can always watch them after the fact.
Yeah, so, that's great. Yeah. And I mean, it's a full day. You get breaks, but there's lots going on. I mean, there was lectures just like, I think it was 8 till like almost lunchtime. And then there was a break, and then you started up again, I think at 3. And so there's a lot going on. So you'll get your money's worth. That's for sure. Yeah.
And Monica, teach you.
And Monica's saying, yay, yes to Mary and Heather as a cooking team. I will work on that because sometimes it takes a little while for people to say yes, but eventually I'll grind them down. No, just kidding. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Heather. It was so great talking to you. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thanks, AJ. Thanks for having me. It was fun.
Absolutely. And thanks for all the great work. And this is not over today, folks, because in 1 hour from now, we have our regular 15th of the month broadcast with Dr. Doug Lyle and Dr. Jen Hawk. Take care, everybody. See you in an hour. Thanks again, Heather. Take care. Bye-bye. Bye.